Welcome to Lead Different.
Have you ever wondered why some brands create lasting connections while others struggle to stand out? What if the key isn't better marketing, but greater authenticity? Welcome to the Lead Different podcast. Today, we're joined by Cheale Villa, founder and CEO of Visual Caffeine. She's a branding strategist, a creative director, and an ICF PCC-certified executive coach. For more than 26 years, Cheale has helped everyone from entrepreneurs to Fortune 500 companies build authentic brands that reflect who they truly are. In this inspiring conversation, she shares how overcoming imposter syndrome, trusting your intuition, leading with faith, and embracing authenticity can transform not only your brand, but your leadership as well. Subscribe and join us as we discover what it means to lead different with Cheale Villa. Let's dive in.
Why not leadership? Why not lead different?
Welcome to Lead Different, the podcast that redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different because great leaders change the world.
Hello and welcome to the podcast, Cheale. I'm so glad to have you on the Lead Different podcast. So glad our paths crossed and that we get a chance to spend some time sharing your brilliance with our audience today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being on. You know, Cheale, there's so much when I looked at your profile and your background and what you do, but there's something about your bio that said to me, you know, let's start with this. You were inspired by your own journey, and one of the reasons you say you're inspired by your own journey is because CEOs and founders often have hidden parts of hidden parts of themselves that keep them from moving forward, right? Internal barriers. And we hear about them all the time. It's all over social media: imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or even burnout, things that limit leaders' growth. So as you worked with leaders and as you looked at your own story, what was it that made you say, you know what, I'm going to, because you're an ICF PCC certified coach. That's not an easy certification. That's a lot of work you had to do to get that certification. So what made you say, you know what, I need to go do this so that I can help my clients even more?
Well, it's actually, that was part of my faith walk because it was something that I felt very led by God to do for a while, but the timing just wasn't there yet. It was something that, oh gosh, I would say about 10 years. And then there was that moment where I was like, I just felt that this is the time. And it was after the pandemic. They had actually gone online. They were a specific program I felt really called to. It was an ontological coaching program.
Okay.
And I just, when I moved forward into it, I just saw more and more how it was really just growing that nuance of how I already worked with people in their brand and how they just, going into the being of who they are and how they connect to their company and the being of the company, how that all just truly helped with not only bringing out that authenticity for them in their brands, but also just really visually seeing what walls were in their way this tendency people have to look at their competitors and just want to copy them.
Right.
And it
Right.
was like, there's a lot of fear that causes that, because it's like, I'm going to do it wrong, or I'm seeing it wrong, or the way I want to do it is wrong. It's all about making yourself wrong. And the method of that coaching really helps identify those barriers and those tendencies and the imposter syndrome that you pointed to, how those are coming up. So it really helps just really get to that authentic point of what your brand should be, what it is meant to be.
So it's about building the brand around who you really are. It sounds like. So by the way, listeners, I want you to know that the name of Cheale's company is Visual Caffeine. Follow her on LinkedIn. She puts out some great stuff, but Visual Caffeine sounds like, when you're talking about understanding yourself, and, at Lead Different, we love talking about leading different through the power of self-awareness. What tools do you use? And I love the name ontological coaching. Tell us what ontological coaching is, and then tell us the role that self-awareness plays in helping founders and leaders communicate their brand even more strongly.
So ontological is basically that I am making decisions and I'm walking forward from my being. So what is it, my essence, from my essence, that I am making these decisions? Okay. The opposite of that is that we get into doing. So it's kind of like, I'm a human being, I'm not a human doing. It's kind of a great way of kind of summing it up. But when we choose things from our being, and that, of course, if you're a religious person, that of course is your faith, that, is that identity inside of you. But whoever you are, what is that internal essence inside of you, making choices from that, then choices from like, well, this is the things that I should do. These are the shoulds. And I'm sure like in your coaching, you hear, like you're really on the shoulds too. All coaches are sensitive to the shoulds. And it's this kind of invisible, like, checklist that we're kind of verifying that something is the correct thing to do, versus like, what is your intuition? What is your instinct? What is it actually internally, that is the right path here?
So now tell us what tools do you use? How do you help someone understand who they really are? Because, I'm fascinated when you meet people who really know themselves and are confident in who they are, regardless of, sometimes people say, I'm just not a really nice person. And I know that about myself, and that's okay, because they tell you right up front. So, or Dan, I'm just not a punctual person. If I tell you I'm going to be there at 2:30, you better count on me showing up at 3, or let me know, give me a half hour. Self-awareness is so important for us to be able to communicate with people better. Well, how do you help people understand themselves better? What is it? What are some of the tools that you use? What's your favorite tool? And tell us what you love learning about people as you take them through your self-awareness process.
So I developed a tool back when I first started business, like 28 years ago. I developed a questionnaire that is like a 2-page questionnaire. It's very like some like where you're at, and like the obvious things like, what do you want to be in like 10 years? What do you want your company to be in? But there's a lot of out of the box questions. So it really gets people outside of, the answers they know to give you. So take someone who goes to a typical branding company. They're, they just ask the direct questions and they will give you a direct answer. I've had so many people come to me and go, oh my gosh, you created a brand that actually like I feel aligned to. And when I went to this other company, it didn't. But I don't think it is that company's fault. I think, and it's not their fault either. It's just that they were asked very direct questions. They gave them very direct answers and didn't try to decipher where like mindset or wrong misgivings were coming in, or what influences were happening. Right. So I developed that with that intention of trying to bring forth what is truly authentic for you, and not asking so much about your competitors or the things that you like they do, or you see as aesthetic. What aesthetic do you like? And so those answers then bring us to our first session. I do a lot of reading between the lines. It's not just in the questionnaire, but it's also then the conversation about the questionnaire. That's kind of the warm up of the conversation.
Yeah.
But then through that, I hear a lot between the lines. I'm very strongly intuitive in that sense. And I challenge those things, or I bring them. I call them love punches. A lot of times, I'll hear something, and usually when people skip over something really quickly, that it's something you need to say.
We need to dig into that. You think Michelle is probably thinking, you thought you got away with that, right? You thought if you said it quickly, I wouldn't dig into it. I love it.
Exactly. Like I had a session with a client the other day that she skipped over something really fast, and she thought that I'm just like, we went for a while, and I'm like, okay, now I'm really curious about and they're like,
this part right here.
Guess what? It ended up being the thing that brought the fountain out. Like it just bursted the wall, bursted the dam.
Yeah.
And they saw a lot. And that was actually a coaching session, not a branding coaching session.
Right.
But in past going into the branding side, going past that, working with someone, people don't realize how much they actually tell you when they say something. Or what they're not telling you. And so I continue to work with business owners to help them remain authentic in their brand, or remain leaders in their company, and making sure that the brand's culture is continually flowing and working within all of the areas, including their own, the way that they are walking as a leader. So
yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And Cheale, you've been doing this a long time. I commend you. This is 28 years experience doing something that that a lot of people start at but don't finish. You've evolved, and not only did you started out and you help people build brands, but then you added this dimension of coaching to the work that you do, so that you can really help people understand themselves even better, and so that the brand actually fits them. So tell us about Visual Caffeine. Where does the name come from? And what does it mean? See, I'm challenging you on how did you come up with your brand, Cheale?
In college. So I was raised by a restaurant owner.
Okay.
My father, he was a huge influence in me wanting to be an entrepreneur and not wanting to work for someone else. I identified a long time ago. I just was not meant to be in the corporate world. But luckily my instructors, they were all not just professors, but they all owned their own design studios.
Right.
So I was in the computer lab, supposed to be working on an assignment, and I started brainstorming the name. And I wanted the name to signify not just, because my idea was to just be a creative studio when I envisioned, but the name one wanted it to not just signify being a visual company, like a design company, but I also wanted it to be that kind of out of the box thinking that comes with that company. And caffeine actually emulates, people always think it's coffee. It actually emulates that energy, that excitement, that the thing that propels you forward,
right?
The thing that attracts you. And then of course visuals, just that, it's a simple word, but then pairing it with caffeine, it is this is out of the box visual implementation. It's something that excites, it draws you in, it stands apart.
Yeah. Man, I love that. So all the way, so you knew, I want to ask about that. You knew since college, and you probably knew growing up.
Yes.
Did you work for your dad, by the way? So you worked for your dad, and your dad probably told you, don't go be an employee anywhere, Cheale. You're probably going to be a terrible employee. Some of us, it took 20, 25, 30 years in corporate before we realized, this isn't for me, because you keep getting bounced out of different positions. You tend to reach a peak, and then they're like, you know what, we're going to move you here. Right. And then you end up deciding, like I did later in life, to be your own boss. But you knew very early on.
Yeah.
What led to that realization for you? And what gave you the courage, other than seeing your dad succeed, to go out on your own rather than taking the path that everyone else was taking, going to work at an agency, right? And sharing ideas with a bunch of people, which can be a great career. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people do really well doing those things and becoming, VPs of marketing and operations and even CEOs. But what made you say very early on, you know what, I think I'm going to go do my own thing, let's just start there?
Well, one, my dad raised us that, like with his father, I don't want you to feel that you need to do my business. This was my dream. I want you to have your own dream. So I do not want you taking over the restaurants. I do not want you so that was a message that was very clear to me. And the reason I bring that up is because I'm like, okay, then what else would I create?
Yeah.
So it's like, what is that dream for me? And ever since I was little, I wanted to do art. I loved drawing. I was just naturally in art. I also was very naturally into computers. I bought my first Tandy computer in 6th grade. You have to understand, I'm an 80s kid. That was a very big deal. Yeah. So it's like, to have a computer, we had in 5th grade, we had the computers with the cassette tapes.
Yep.
So my first computer, my upgrade to my hard drive was 1 megabyte, just to give some reference here technology wise. But
yeah,
I really got curious about programming at the time too. So I had the two things, but my mom was very much I want you to get a degree in something you're going to make money in. But I just knew I wanted to work for myself. And so it was kind of like in college, I felt like all of those things kind of came together. So it was like this piece of, I wanted to work for myself. I also loved these things, but then I was kind of swayed against art and things like that because, that meant starvation.
Right.
So finally, I was just frustrated and just wanted to get out of college. And I was like, fine, I'm just going to do what my mother said and go into teaching, and I'll just go art for elementary school teachers. That's I was just like, that's what I'm going to go do. And then I had a teacher, thankfully, my art for elementary school teacher, that actual class, she sent me aside. She said, you're too talented to be a teacher. You need to go into art. I don't know why you're here. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, my mom doesn't want me to be a starving artist. She says, well, graphic designers make as much as engineers coming out of college. Right. So you should go into that. And so when I proposed it to my parents, my dad ended up knowing a designer who taught at this art school in Detroit, which was Center for Creative Studies at the time. Now it's College for Creative Studies. And he introduced me to him. What I became and I really feel like God just put me in front of these people. Yeah. And it was everybody I put in front of that was a designer. They all worked for themselves. And it was just that vision I had growing up of just and I'm like, well, actually, I'm not only going to be able to get a degree in something that's valuable, but I'm also going to be able to create my own company. And do, at least work as a freelancer, right? And when I was in college, I did work as a freelancer. And so anyway, that is when I just had that vision of creating just a design studio. When I got out of college, I went and worked for a manufacturing company as a designer initially, because who starts a business right out of school, right?
Right.
Anyway, but I took the job, and then I was with them for about a year, and then I ended up starting my company soon after that. So it was, I was started Visual Caffeine in 1998. It technically wasn't called that initially, but I did switch it. It was kind of a, you know, I was wrongly influenced by somebody. Let's just say that. I went
Yeah.
back to the name of Visual Caffeine, but Visual Caffeine is now going over 28 years. And it started out as a design company, but that first job I had, I was really closely working with the VP of marketing.
Okay.
And working with her, she gave me like a master's in marketing. I mean, like it was just, I learned so much from her. And it wasn't soon after starting my company, I started bringing like the branding and the marketing together, because they do work together and they need to work together. And so that's kind of where it all birthed from.
I love it. No, it's a great story. So many
Thank you.
ways we can go there. From your dad's influence to say, hey, you don't, number one, kudos to him not putting pressure on you to take over the business.
Yeah.
A lot of the CEOs that I work with sometimes are taking over parents' businesses, and all of them, most of them, at least the ones I've been working with, are more than happy to take over. They're taking over a successful business, and they grew up in it. They started washing dishes whether it's in the restaurant, and now they're running operations, and they're going to be taking over, or they've all started in smaller roles and stayed in it. You chose a different path, and you were encouraged by your parents. And then you mentioned your mom. Moms, that's what they want, security, right? So she was like, honey, I don't want you to be a starving artist. And I know you may not make a lot of money, but you'll have money to eat if you're a teacher, right? So she was trying to take you down that safe road, but something inside you said, no, I think I want to do this. And then how blessed were you to have a mentor who taught you so much and saw the value in you, and then gave you the confidence to say, you know what, I think I can do this on my own. What was the key step that, because we all operate from a place of where, I'm getting a paycheck, I'm doing well. Do I really want to go start on my own? And we all face that fear. What pushed you over the edge that said, you know what, I'm going to do it? And what gave you the confidence to do it?
Well, this is probably not the answer that people find so exciting, but I got married. So, and I was just, when I got married, I said, okay, we're getting married. I'm going to leave my job. I had money in stock that my grandfather had left me. I started the company with that. And, I started getting business through my college. They had a big job book, which was all this freelance work. And that's when I was really starting to get work. So, and then I started networking. I wasn't into sales or cold calling or things like that, but I would have to say had pretty consistent work pretty quickly through those avenues. And so it didn't feel as much of it didn't feel as, I guess, obviously any kind of business is risky.
Sure.
It didn't feel as risky, obviously, because I had my husband at the time. He was working, but so it allowed me to have that little bit of a slump to then go and be able to be making sustainable income. But I feel I was making sustainable income before my first year was over.
Love it.
Yeah.
What is that's really good. And you had the opportunity to build a network, because I know a lot of people fail. That's the part where they fail: prospecting, making the cold calls. So you had some early success, and that led to networking, which led to referrals, and then you were able to build a sustainable income really quick. What advice do you have for somebody just starting out that, let's say, that they don't want to do the cold calling, they don't want to do the 20 no's for every, or 100 no's for every one yes, right? You seem to have built a business without having to do that. What advice would you give to someone who doesn't want to do that? How do you get your work out there so that you can get those referrals, at least in the beginning?
Well, I will say, my biggest advice out of this one is don't go a path just because someone tells you that that's the path to do it. I think I call, like no way on that one, to be honest. Because I was being told the only way that you can grow a business is by doing cold calling, and sometimes stubbornness can be a gift. I'm like, no, I will not do that. I refuse to do that. There has to be another way.
Yeah.
And the fact is that relationship marketing wasn't as much of a thing back then. But I found the way to, to that path of, at first I joined BNI, which was a very early, promoter of that type of sales. So someone who's starting out, I gave the initial advice of, just because you're being told a certain path or that this is the only way, don't even trust that. Anybody who tells you have only one way to do something, that's just simply not true.
Right.
There's many ways, many paths, and you can figure out ways to make something happen. You just have to be willing to, one, take the risk, and two, trust your instincts, trust yourself, trust what in your gut is telling you, because I know, and Dan, that is not always coming from us.
Yeah.
So trust that. Especially with back then, I didn't have social media. I didn't have all the things. I bought the book E-Myth, to learn how to be an entrepreneur. But also, I didn't have all that stuff. Now we have so much noise telling us, well, this is how you get to this, or this is how you get here, or, all these steps out there. And it's like, that's just a method that worked for them. And it's great. That doesn't mean that's the only way to do something.
Yeah, no. And I love what you said there with regards to trusting your instincts. We hear that all the time. It's the Lion King, right? Simba, trust your instincts. The roar will be there when you need it. But you also talked about, and you alluded to it, I think, is the role that faith plays in our decisions. What role has faith played in the creation of your business, the growth of your business, and then the success of your business to date?
Well, I use the term intuition, and then to me, that's the Holy Spirit. So it has never led me wrong. It has shown me the things I need to see, and I have trusted that. Did I at the time know what to call it? No, I went to a Protestant church, a Presbyterian church. They didn't talk about the Holy Spirit, but I definitely knew that there was divine lead in all of it. And, it would be so interesting too. I would have a client that, they decided to go with another company. They've been with me for several years, but then all of a sudden another client would basically replace their income. It's like, that's, to me, that's not just, I'm so awesome, I'm this entrepreneur. No, that is God in my corner, and that is him making those things happen and bringing those things to me. Every single thing that every single person, every single piece of knowledge that has come in front of me, I know has come from God. I was just like, so this is not yay me, that's glory to him.
Love that. And, I thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's important to understand. Doors get closed and other doors open. And we have to, people often, people talk about, when we talk about prayer, we always think of prayer as asking God for things. The thing that we have to remember is to listen. Because he's answering, but he may not be answering the specific request that you have. He may be giving you an answer through an email that somebody sent you, or a client that he sent to your door, or someone you met at a coffee shop that introduces you to someone. So I want to talk about the other part that you talked about, that, everybody has all this noise out there telling you this is how to do it. I did it this way, so you should do it. I had a chance to meet Paul Allen. He founded Ancestry.com. And Paul was really good about, he said, Dan, best piece of advice I ever got was never take advice from people who don't think like you do.
That's
And,
very wise.
and as I see you, you're an out of the box thinker. You're a creative. For you to take advice from somebody who's very methodical and by the book, you're trying to do the things that they did to succeed is going to be very different. And it's going to be probably energy draining for you to try to follow a formula when you know that the gold is in the stuff that you weren't expecting, the stuff that came out of nowhere, came to you in a dream, came to you while you were driving home. That's where the gold is as a creative person. What's your advice best advice you ever got for business? I love that piece because it came as you were talking. Yes, there's a lot of people out there that are succeeding and then they're sharing their secrets, but those secrets may not work for you because you're not built the way they're built. If you can find someone who's built like you are, then it's great. Those mentors are great. What's your best advice that you would give best piece of advice somebody ever gave you that you wouldn't want to share?
Before I answer that, I do want to say one thing I've noticed is that people who work with me, it always is because of a quality that I'm putting forward that I'm emulating, that they're like, okay, like I need to work with her because that is a, and I think that there's, like attracts like, so I just wanted to say that.
We say at Why Not Leadership, we say when you tell people what you believe, you attract people who believe what you believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important to be authentic.
Yes.
It's like, don't be scared to show who you are. Like, because people are attracted to that. People want to work with you. They don't want to work with their competitor. That's why they're picking you. Right.
Right.
But on that note, I'm going to give you two.
All right.
One is rejection is God's protection. And I love that one because it really has, when you have that proposal that you spend so much time on and you don't get it, anytime that I have gone this road of lowering my price or something, just like I go into fear mode and I want to land that job, it is the biggest nightmare I have ever experienced. like it's just like, and so there is truth to that. And so it's like, accept the no. There is a reason for it. If, there is God's divine intervention on that. And it doesn't necessarily mean this person I'm not saying this person's a bad person or whatever. Sometimes there's just mismatch. The other thing that I was given actually it was a business coach back, I met in my first B&I group. He told me, don't ever just give one option for people when you're proposing to them. Give them a good, better, best. And I know that there's a lot of this signature offer and one offer, and there's a lot of that's been out there in social media for a very long time. But I hold true and fast to, you need to give people more than one option because you don't know truly where they are at. And if they are meant to work with you, you're at least giving them a pathway where that is possible.
So I love that quote. Rejection is God's protection. And I had Marshall Goldsmith on the podcast and he said, where you can, as much as you can, never take bad business. So that business that you're talking about where, hey, can you do it for 80%? Can you lower your price? Well, they're not valuing you. So why would you want to work with someone who doesn't value your work? They think your work is 80% of what you think it's worth. Yes. And I always say to people, look, I would love to do that, but I guarantee you, if you hire me, I'm going to give you 100% effort. I can't give you 80% effort. I don't know what that looks like. So if you don't pay me 100% and I'm giving you 100% effort, that's just not going to work for me. I'm going to resent you. And so that's not a good thing. But talk more about that good, better, best. It's a great way to frame proposals and how to fit, and I love that idea because then it gives people options. It gives people options other than no, right? It's like, here's what a Cadillac with shell looks like. And here's what a touring sedan looks like. And this is, somewhere in the middle, we've got something for you. How do you prepare? How did you come up with, I know that's not a new concept, but how do you do it for yourself? How do you look at, okay, what am I willing to do for this price, or that price, and giving the client a choice?
Well, what I do is I determine, like, I like to meet my clients where they're at. Okay, so I'm meeting you where you're at. What does it look like to meet you where you're at? Now, I kind of go back. You may or may not remember these commercials. I always talk about Computer City, like Computer USA.
Oh yeah. Comp USA. Yeah.
USA. Thank you. They had an ad that has stuck with me for so long. And it was this dude, and he's saying, my computer has this and it has this and it has this like gaming card and it has all this stuff, and he's listing all it. And then the person you don't see says, so what do you use your computer for? And he says, WordPress.
Word processing.
Word processing. Thank you. Oh, I have my Monday brain.
We're going way back.
Yeah, we're going way back.
Word processing.
And word processing. So the reason I bring that up is because I think you have to make sure first and foremost you're meeting your client where they're at right now.
Right.
And what are those next steps forward for them? And that's always my good, is what is that logical next step for them, where they are in their company. And then the better is then, okay, what would be some of the extra things that I could logically give them? I don't like offering. I nowhere, and the other reason I use that commercials, I nowhere want to offer anything that is just absorbent or, just not necessary. I really want to make sure that in even the best, I'm offering what is good strategy for them. But there is pieces to that. There's always that ideal of what it is, and that's the best. And then there's like the midpoint between that good and that best and the better. One thing he had said to me is usually the client will pick the better. It is just human psychology. They tend to pick the center one.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I approach it. I will say one thing I want to note on that I didn't mention earlier is vetting who you're even making that proposal for. Don't just shoot out a proposal to anybody who asks you. Make sure that you have that call that vets that person, because it's not just about them vetting you. And I think I see this a lot with entrepreneurs. They're just like, oh, I just need the business, and they're in this desperate mode. But you got to look at it as like, yeah, they're vetting me, but I also am vetting them, and I have a right to reject, and that's okay. And it doesn't matter if they were referred to you by your best friend. It doesn't mean the person's a match.
Right. Yeah. There's so much wisdom in that, Cheale, is not only are they vetting you, you're evaluating them. And again, that goes back to what Marshall talked about. He's like, sometimes you got to pay the bills. You know what? So you'll take that client that's willing to pay cash, and it's not the price you wanted, but they're going to pay you right now, and that'll pay the bills this month. Take that. Obviously, you got to pay your bills, but for the most part, that comes with its own brand of heartache and extra work. You end up working harder for that client than you would for someone who you vetted fits you. You mentioned something earlier that I think is really important, and that's why branding and our messaging is so important, because you want to attract people that want what you have. Your superpower. You have a superpower. You have 2 or 3. And those are the things, we use the YOS discovery with all our clients. So we figure out, okay, what's your why, what's your how, and what's your what? And let's put that in your messaging, So for me, it's always about contributing. I want to make a difference. I lead with that. If you work with me, I'm going to help you. I'm going to probably care more about your success than you do, because I'm a contributor. So let's get that straight. I'm going to be hands-on, and I'm going to care. Number 2, I'm going to challenge. So I'm probably a lot like you. I love to challenge the status quo. I'm not going to do it the way everybody else is doing it. So if that makes you uncomfortable, let's just part ways now, because we're not going to do it. There is not a handbook that I'm going to follow. We're going to be creative. We're going to do it your way, what fits you. So if you're comfortable with that, that's great. And then my what is make sense. So I like to help people make sense of everything. So at the end of the day, whatever crazy idea I throw out at you, don't worry, I'll help explain it to you and show you how it's going to work so that it fits your business. But again, we have those conversations early and often so that I'm not working with someone that's going to say, wait, what are you doing? That's crazy. I'm like, yeah, you should have known that coming in the early conversations we had that I'm going to come at you with creative ideas that are out of the box. And if that's uncomfortable, then we didn't vet right in the beginning. And now we've got issues because now we're 6 months into the project or 3 months into the project, and it's not fun for either of us, right?
Mhm.
So let's communicate that early. You said there were two. So rejection is God's protection. What's the second piece?
Yes. The second, the wisdom, going back to that.
Yeah, to that advice.
Yeah, no. The second was the good, better, best.
Oh, yeah.
But then the other one is vetting your clients, which is something that I learned later in business. I used to be in my apologies. My computer is not plugged in and it's about to die. We don't want to die.
Let's not let it die in the middle of the interview. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then okay, wait, I'm slow. I'm going to wait. Thankfully for vetting, I'm not vetting, for editing. Okay. All right. I seem to be back. All right.
Yeah, I can see you clearly.
Yeah. So it was the good, better, best. The rejection is God's protection, as well as the vetting, because I do believe that from a faith perspective that, we still need to be doing our part. We still need to be taking the actions we feel led to take. And if someone is really to me, it's about trusting your instinct at the end of the day, because
Right.
even, in vetting, in anything in business, really trusting that what's internally being told to you, trust that your gut does have wisdom, and leading in that is really important.
Yeah. The gut, you call it you can call it your higher power. You can call it the Holy Spirit. It's listening to yourself, listening to what comes naturally to you, right? All right, let me ask a fun question, because I was looking at your website. What is the creative rabbit? I think that's what
I'm the visionary rabbit.
The visionary rabbit. Tell us about the visionary rabbit.
Yes. I never liked traditional titles, so I always have to bring something in there. But visionary rabbit is me, and that is I'm founder, CEO, and visionary rabbit, and basically that is one of my biggest superpowers. I'm not just creative, but I'm a visionary person, and when I'm working with somebody, I'm not just about their vision. I'm also about what I'm seeing in that vision. I have my own visionary side to someone's brand, to someone's marketing. And that is just a gift that I don't have to work very hard to tap into. And I am very much, it helps also me just be a very infinite idea person as well. So
you have lots of ideas, Cheale.
Yes.
There's a reason I was attracted to you and wanted to have you on the podcast. I remember I tell this story all the time. There was a gentleman gave a keynote, and he was a colonel in the Army, and he says he had a general tell him once, Colonel, not every great idea you have is a good idea. So sometimes we need those of us who have lots of ideas need somebody to filter those ideas through.
Yes.
And you run a lean team. Does Liz provide that for you? Who do you surround yourself with to give you a reality check every once in a while? Because I know I need that every once in a while. For me, that's my wife. I'll run the crazy ideas, but I love working with people who are more practical, My COO, Maria, is a very process-oriented person, and she can look at me and say, Dan, that's crazy. I mean, yes, that's a great idea, but right now it doesn't fit our budget. It doesn't fit our current plans. It doesn't fit any of our current clients. So how about we save that one and let's continue working down this path, because this is realistic. And so we don't want to put a cap on our ideas, but we want to make sure we run them by someone who's got a little bit more of a practical side. How do you do that for yourself?
Well, one, I'm also a very strategic thinking person. So I will say, like, it's not just my right brain going crazy. I also have a very strategic mind, which is the other gift I bring forward for my clients. But one, my husband is a very grounding person. He's a very process driven. He is my, my logical, he's a scientist brain. He's a computer scientist. So, he is grounding for me. I always have a coach. So I've always had a coach, for many years now. And I think it's important for coaches to have coaches. Yes. I also have a spiritual director. And I meet with her once a month as well. I have a lot of prayer time and a lot of contemplation time. I do a lot of journaling. So I think, there is a lot of divine intervention in those times for things that I'm like, and God grounds me on, or brings me like, okay, but this would be the first thing for that.
Right.
As well as I have a lot of entrepreneur friends that I have a lot of respect for, and I advise and bounce things off of, and they do the same with me. We have very reciprocal relationships. And I think that those are really important to have those trusted entrepreneurs, because sometimes we tend to advise with people that aren't entrepreneurs because they're the people we're closest to. They don't get the entrepreneurial aspect of it all. And they may say it's crazy because they're not entrepreneurial.
Right.
And you have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur.
Yes. Yeah, no, that is so good. What's I've been going to just trust. There's a trust prayer that I learned recently. Jesus, I trust you. Yes. And I'm putting everything that I can't control in your hands, and strengthen me when my faith is weak, and fill me with peace when I'm anxious. That's kind of a great prayer that I've been using lately. Beautiful. Because, we're just saying, and then I had James Madison, one of my fellow entrepreneur coaches whom I love. And he says every morning he prays. And after he finishes his prayers, he says, Jesus, what are we going to co-create today? And that kind of grounds him. It's like, I'm not doing it. We're doing it. And what are you going to help me co-create? If you're not in it, I'm probably not going to do it. Right. So what are we going to co-create? And that's that push, that instinct, that Holy Spirit pushing you in the right direction. What's a prayer that you use, or what's a part of your routine? Because you mentioned you do have prayer time and meditation that helps you make those difficult decisions. What's a practice that you have that you recommend?
Well, one, I've been doing the Sane Nation journey on repeat. So I go, it's the 19th annotation, which lasts about 8 to 9 months. Yeah. I did that initially. I'm on repeat with that. Wow. My chat key with the Jesus prayer is like foundational for me, because even without my chat key, the Jesus prayer is something that we're supposed to pray fervently throughout the day. And that is a way that I pray fervently when I feel that I need to gain focus, or I am getting in my stuff. That is the fastest way for me to bring God into that moment and ground me and get me out of my quote unquote flesh, that carnal brain. Because I think like when we get into our stuff, we're getting into the survival brain back here. And that's, to me, that's our carnal brain. And it's just our caveman brain, in other terms. That prayer really brings me back to center. And so for anyone who doesn't know that, it's Lord Jesus Christ, a Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. But it's Lord Jesus Christ, you breathe in, Son of God, you breathe out. And then have mercy on me, breathe in, I am a sinner, breathe out. And what I love about that is you're breathing in Jesus and you're breathing out your sins. And I'll just keep saying that, repetition. I also pray the rosary. I took a break from praying the rosary for a period of time, but I am back in it. And that is, that's a really, that's also a very grounding meditation, and reflection. I love reflecting on those different biblical moments. And I think that is super important. But my contemplation, I did the contemplation prayer time. That's all the Ignatian. I've been just doing the Ignatian journey. That has really trained me well in that. And just being able to either take scripture, which Electo Divina, or even just take moments that we know of, like just in sitting in those, because that really helps bring discernment.
I love that you brought up the Jesus prayer, because believe it or not, I was listening to a podcast this morning with Mother Natalia and Matt Brad.
I love Mother Natalia. She entered my life very early in my Catholic journey. She's actually who I got she's the reason I love my Chotki so much.
That was the other question I had. For those that don't know, what's a Chotki? Because we want to let people know in case they want to go out and get one. And what do you use? How do you use it? I know we use it for the Jesus prayer, so you have it. You can always use your rosary, I hear. But
yes,
how do you use the Chotki and what it is and where do you get one?
Well, it's funny because I always keep extra on me, because people ask me about my Chotki, because they're like, that's not a rosary. And so I typically will keep extra ones on me and give it to them if they show curiosity. And but basically it is a prayer rope that is, they're technically called monkey knots, but the Orthodox Church uses them. But then also she's from the Mother Natalia is from the Benedictine of the rite of the Catholic Church, and they pray with the Chotki as well. And actually, I love the story about the knots. Have you heard the story?
No, tell us.
It's this. So this priest was creating a prayer rope,
right?
And he would be. So this is a Chotki. It's composed of knots. You can actually get ones that are 50, 100, and 150. The standard is 100. This one's 100. Okay. So it's 10 between each bead. The story I want to tell about this is that these knots that they're made with, it's and you will find ones that are made with beads, but the knot is a monkey knot. Right. But the story behind this knot is that there was a priest creating his prayer rope. And he was in the middle of creating these knots, and then he said that in the middle of the night that a demon would undo all the knots. So he was determined to find a knot that the demon could not undo. So he created one that was 7 knots. So actually a monkey knot, 7 knots, 7 crosses. So a monkey knot is a composition of 7 crosses. Because of that, the demon could no longer undo his Chotki.
His rope. Right.
His prayer rope, which I just think is such a cool story. But anyway, but I actually, even during Mass, I'll have my Chotki, and the moments in Mass that are very quiet or they're,
pauses.
Yes, a lot of pauses and things like that. Things that I don't need to be proactively a part of,
Mhm.
I will go in praying the Jesus prayer.
Mhm.
If even waiting in line to receive the Eucharist,
Yeah.
I will have my chalkie with me, and I will be doing a repetition of the Jesus prayer.
Yeah. So it's better than looking around and seeing what everybody else is wearing. Who
Exactly.
is taking communion in the mouth versus in their hand, and
Oh gosh.
all those things that we notice that we're supposed to be concentrating on receiving the Eucharist, and so that's great. You keep that, so you take it up with you, and then you receive communion. It keeps you
Mhm.
focused on what it is that you're doing. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that, because I think that's important that we share. I think that the spiritual journey is important. That's
Mhm.
a big part of who we are. And again, it
Mhm.
goes with, we made a decision at Why Not Leadership at the beginning of the year. We don't necessarily only work with you if you are a Catholic. We just
Right.
want you to know who we are. And that's who
Huh.
we are. And if you're okay with us being that, then we're okay with whatever you are. Let's work
Mhm.
with you. What it tells you is where I come from, because you can look. It's the Catholic Church, pretty open. You can go read the Catechism. This is what we
Mhm.
believe, right?
Right.
Catechism of the Catholic Church tells you what we believe and where we're grounded and what we want to do and what our mission is. And so if that's okay with you, let's work together. And if it's not, that's okay too. Again, probably going to be an easier conversation to have early on rather than later on in the relationship, right?
Well, yeah, and I'm always I'm not shy or quiet about my faith or what I believe. And what I feel like is the society as a whole is very obsessed with identity in things.
Yeah.
And so this is our identity.
Yeah.
And that's, and your choice of identity is what you're choosing, and this is ours.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with that, especially around. I tend to play a lot of golf, and there's a lot of funny things that happen on a golf course, and I've played golf with priests, and we're all human. We all get upset when we hit a bad shot, and a
Mhm.
bad word will come out of our mouth, even if we're a priest, right? And that's okay. That's just part of being human. But I think it's the beauty of it is, hey, that's who I am. I know I've got to probably go to confession, and because of the things that I did while I was out there trying to be Tiger Woods when I'm not even good enough to be an amateur golfer. But that being said,
Mhm.
it grounds us, and it keeps us, bringing us back to our faith. Thank you for sharing that beautiful story. And I love that we have Mother Natalia in common. I read
Oh, I
I
love
saw
her.
something with her and Matt. They did a long 3 hour one that took me a few trips to the office, because I just listened on the way to work and on the way home. And then I kept going to lunch. And so I'm like, I'm going to listen to another part of it. But just I've been really impressed with her and the way she explains her faith and the way she lives it. She's so human. And again, I love that human
Mm.
part. My first spiritual advisor was a Jesuit priest, good friend, Father
Oh.
Rodriguez. And he was the first priest that I ever played golf with. And then he'd take me back to the house, and there's all the Jesuits are sitting around the table eating, and they're just having regular conversations. And it's the first time I
Mhm.
realized, hey, you know what? Priests are people too. And now I work with quite a few priests. As a matter of fact, yesterday, as I was doing my Father's Day text, I realized I have a lot of fathers, people whose name began with father in my phone books. I sent out all the texts, and that's a good thing to have. Those are great people to have
Oh,
around to keep us
yes,
grounded. As a matter of fact, I just got
absolutely.
a
And
text from one that
I
I
don't
have
know
to
if you
return.
yeah. Oh, I totally agree, and I don't know if you've listened to her podcast, but I highly recommend it.
I listened to one episode, and yeah,
Her and
she
Father
does it with
Michael.
someone else. Who was it?
Father Michael.
Yes, her and Father Michael. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just started. So I'm a big podcast guy. I do a podcast, and I love listening to people who do podcasts really well. Is there anything we haven't asked you about, Shell, that you want to make sure we let our listeners know about Visual Caffeine, what you do? Let's definitely let people know. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to find you?
Best way to find me is visualcaffeine.com.
Okay.
So, and I always say it's VISUALCAFFEINE. That E is always dropped.
Okay.
But visualcaffeine.com is the best way, because that gives you all the ways to get in touch with me. You can also find me on LinkedIn. under my name, and there's not many that have that
There's not
name.
many shells. Yes. Not to spell
So
it
those
this
are
way.
the two avenues that are the best.
Fabulous. How about the previous questions? Anything we haven't asked you about that you want to make sure we talk about today?
Well, I have a podcast, and
Yeah.
that's Honest Brew. It's unfiltered conversations on business growth. And I will say it was something I was inspired to do, because one of the things I didn't mention in Visual Caffeine is that we believe brand needs to flow through your entire business. It's not just an exclusively marketing thing.
Yeah.
It's actually about building brand culture. And that podcast was inspired by, I wanted to bring together an operations person.
Yeah.
And then I have there's a woman they're all clients of mine now, but a woman who's also a branding person. She represents kind of the branding seat. I'm branding and marketing. And then we have my third, Sarah, which is operations person. But the reason for that was to really have conversations around your brand and your business, but how it should be showing up everywhere.
Right.
And people tend to just put it in a box.
Yes.
And it really, to me, is a foundation of your entire business, not just of your marketing.
I love that. Thank you so much, Cheale. This has been so fun. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge. I'm looking forward to continuing conversation, and I want to have you back on, and maybe
I love that.
in a year, let's just catch up and see where you are. I know the other thing I'm looking forward is I know there's got to be a collaboration in place for us. I know I want to be on Honest Brew, so make sure I get invited. I want to be on your podcast. But thank you so much for sharing so much so openly and being such a great guest. We've learned a lot, guys. Don't forget, I'm going to ask you what I ask you every week. If you learned something today from Cheale, let's comment, let's like, let's make sure we share with our friends so we can teach as many people as possible how to lead different from a place of self-awareness. That's what we do here at the Lead Different podcast. And we're blessed to have people, amazing people like Cheale Villa, to join us today. So thank you for being with us. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys next week on the Lead Different podcast. Thank you, Cheale.
Thank you.
This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.